Hey, welcome everyone to Rare CrossFit's Nutrition 101 seminar lecture, something we like to refer to as the Teeter Totter Nutrition Talk. So, our goal of this is to explain this to you and have everyone have a little bit of an understanding about nutrition, so simple that you can explain it to your children. So to give you an example, I gave this talk about a year ago at an event. A good friend of mine was in that event, and within a couple months he had lost 40 pounds just from this having a light bulb go off for him about nutrition. So let's get started. First off, teeter totter. Okay, we've all been on teeter totter, right? I go down, the person on the other side goes up, the person on the other side goes down, and I go up, right? So let's break that down. Here we go. All right, here's our teeter totter. So first things first. Right here we have carbohydrates, we have fat, and then right here we have protein, okay? So who here has heard your doctor say, or anybody saying, hey, during the day you should eat well-balanced meals? So if I'm on the teeter totter and I'm over here as carbohydrates, and I have my good friend Jimmy over here, and he's protein, and he's on this side, and if we're here, we're in balance, right? We're in balance. That's how we want to keep our nutrition plan, okay? So, let's talk about something with this. So why do I want to talk about this? Carbohydrates, protein. When we do something such as eat a lot of carbohydrates, which would include having some beers, having tortilla chips, a bunch of fruit, right? We do a lot of carbohydrates that accumulates. It affects a hormone in our body. Well, what is that hormone? It is called insulin, okay? So when we eat a lot of carbs, we affect a hormone called insulin. Okay? And insulin is considered this. It's considered the storage hormone. It likes to keep things in. And typically, so I'm a guy, if I go out and have a lot of beers or I eat a ton of carbs, if I go to Pueblo's, my favorite place, and have a margarita and the tortilla chips, and then I have 3 soft tacos with those little shells, that each of those are probably 30 to 40 grams of carbs, I have probably eaten 150 to 200 grams of carbs, a lot. That's going to spike my insulin level, and it's going to have me store any excess calories and stuff. And typically guys store those here in their love section, their mid-handle section, right? Love handles the midsection here in their abdominal, okay? So it takes this teeter-totter out of balance, right? Again, we want well-balanced meals with carbohydrates, fats, and protein. So if you eat a lot of carbs, it spikes your insulin. This is considered the storage hormone. It likes to keep things in, okay? And it takes this teeter-totter and does this. It takes it totally out of balance, okay? So, hope everybody follows that. If you eat a ton of carbohydrates, it spikes your insulin, all right? And insulin stores stuff in. Very basic stuff, okay? So remember in the world, the way the world works, for black there's white, for positive there's negatives, for electrons there's protons, right? For every positive thing there's yin yang, right? There's always an equal and opposite reaction. So, if we eat a ton of carbohydrates and it spikes our insulin level, wouldn't you gather to say something else happens? What if we eat a lot of protein and not a lot of carbohydrates? What would happen, right? So we eat, oh my God, the lights just went off on me. If we eat a lot of protein, that would affect another hormone in our body, again, and that hormone is called glucagon, okay? Glucagon. Okay. So if insulin keeps things in, what do you think protein does? Exactly. It's going to take things out. It's not going to store it. It's going to help get them out. But what do you mean by that, Coach? Well, who here has heard of the Atkins diet? I'm sure many of you have, right? Atkins diet. So the Atkins diet, you eat a ton of protein, fat, and very little carbohydrates. So in the Atkins diet, you eat basically, you should be eating between 20 and 50 grams of carbohydrates a day. I actually believe if you're doing it the right way, it's under 20 grams of carbs, which is nothing, okay? High protein, high fat, very little carbs. You take this teeter-totter out of balance, okay? So again, if you eat a lot of protein, you affect another hormone in your body called glucagon, and that likes to take things out, okay? That's why you'll see a lot of people who do the Atkins diet, they'll lose 100 pounds in 30 or 60 days. And true story, if you do any research about the Atkins diet came about from people who were so large and obese that they needed surgery, but they could not have surgery because if they went on the operating table, as heavy as they were, that they would most likely die. So they had to lose a lot of weight before they even had surgery, okay? And that's how that came about. So with this, I want everybody to recognize that if you notice, if we eat a lot of carbs, it does something to our hormones. If we eat a lot of protein, it does something to our hormones. But you know what I haven't said yet is, well, wait a minute, Coach, you haven't said anything about fat. Exactly. Fat is right here in the middle, okay? And fat has a very, very little effect on our hormones in our body, okay? Very little effect on hormones, all right? Now, hey, a lot of you men and women out there, this next question I'm going to ask is probably related to women more so, maybe, maybe not, but there is most likely, and I'm being dead serious here, a time during the month where your hormones are absolutely out of control. Would everybody agree with me watching that your hormones are just crazy? And there's nothing you can do to control that. You know, you have a mad craving for chocolate, or you have a mad craving for sweets, right? Well, it's that time of the month. It's you going through your period where naturally, you know, and the way we're built, you're going through that, which greatly affects your hormones. And so a lot of times, ladies, correct me if I'm wrong, on those days, your life feels like this, right? Your hormones are just crazy. Let me give you another example. What happens if you give a child a Coca-Cola or a soft drink or a soda? Same thing happens, right? They have the soda and they're cruising along and then they go, woo! And then they come down like 20 or 30 minutes later. And you give them some sugary snack or some crackers, and the same thing, they spike like this and go back down, right? We want you, though, the reason is this teeter-totter, right? If you can keep your hormones in balance and in check more so than not, you're going to take this wild, crazy ride, and you're going to have a nice, steady, smooth ride through the day like this. And you're not going to be as reactive. Your emotional state is going to be more smooth and transparent, right? Instead of this roller coaster ride, which most of us are on every single day. And guess what? Even me personally, you know, I know right now, if I don't eat well or if I don't get enough sleep, right, it spikes my cortisol, which is another thing that affects insulin levels, right? But when you do all that stuff, we all get on this crazy ride. And our de facto answer, our default answer is to hit the easy button. So trust me, for me, one of my things is I like every now and then a Coca-Cola. I just like that, right? That sugary rush. Not a big fan of Pepsi. But I find, though, when I'm lacking sleep or under more stress or I've eaten crappy lately, my hormones are out of balance. And when I'm thirsty, I'm like, man, I would just love a Coke right now. Because that's my easy button. Instead of saying, you know, man, no, I need water right now. I need something, maybe a tea, a decaffeinated tea that's better for me instead of a sugary soft drink. So I hope a lot of this makes sense, that you understand that if you eat a ton of carbohydrates, it's going to spike a hormone, insulin. That keeps things in. If you eat a ton of protein, it spikes a different hormone. It's called glucagon, and that starts to take things out, right? Fat doesn't make you fat, and I'm talking about good fats here. I'm talking about avocados and almonds, things like that, right? Yes, hydrogenated oils and going to McDonald's and having French fries and all that, that will make you fat, yes. But we're talking about good fats here, right? Olive oil is really good for you. Macadamia nuts, these are good things that actually stabilize your hormones and don't get you on this crazy, wild ride. So, again, we made this video. We hope that this helps, that you understand is we want to keep this in balance. And a lot of people ask, you know, hey, well, how much should I eat in all these meals? Well, that's another topic for a different day. But if you just keep things basic and try to get a little bit of carbohydrates, and a little bit of fat, and a little bit of protein for most of your meals, not all of them, for most, you're going to control your hormones a little bit more, and you're going to have a smoother, more focused, more intentional day. And you're going to find that you're going to make a lot more decisions, a lot easier, the right decisions, and you're going to feel good about yourself. Coach Adam coming to you. Hope everybody has a great day. If you have any more questions, let us know how we can add value to you. Thanks again. See you soon.